I'm not playing Jackie Chan's movie of Who Am I either. All right, just to wait. Okay, all yours. All right. Okay, so good evening, everybody. Truly, it's a honor to be here in this red dot TEDx. It's absolutely unlikely for me to be here if not for the Almighty who predefined this moment, and TEDx with Siddaganga got me, pinned me here. I feel like TEDx is more like a stand-up comedian show. If I say something and you laugh, it's a joke. And if you don't laugh, it's a career lesson. As simple as it is, right? When I was called in for the theme chronospect, chrono, the word that is derived from the Greek language, time, and introspection of time. It got me very thoughtful to introspect how time reflected my life. I was introspecting on how time made an impact in my life. Keeping that as a theme at my back of the mind, I titled my topic today as Career Path from Shifting Sands to Steady Mountains. This is inspired by true events, inspired by someone's story, which is history, inspired by my own true events. So it's my story in simple. But the minute I see the word career and sands, I'm reminded of my father. My father, who was a civil architect by profession, and absolutely a passionate man who got his best of his brains building different architectures. The passion did not influence just as the outcome of the buildings that he constructed, but it reflected in his own contacts in his phone registry. To my surprise, the contacts in the phone calls that he used to receive are Brick Murugan, Cement Rajesh, or anything to do with building Matthew, right? It kind of like gave me a very awkward feeling to what extent the man was influenced by the passion that he carried for his profession. And probably me coming from that genealogy, I chose career to be the topic with the passion that I carry. With that said, this is me, Srihari Dhandapani, a technocrat by passion, a chief architect, a cloud technologist by profession, and a speaker today by choice. And I'm accompanied by my beautiful wife and my kids who are here to witness this moment in time in my life. The minute you talk about time, I'm tempted, I'm deliberately using this word, to pick up the three apples in the mankind time that made an impact. Sure, not the first time you're hearing, probably together in one single image. The first apple that was found, a forbidden fruit, in the Garden of Eden. There's actually Adam and Eve image, which is dark. Garden of Eden, where Eve was tempted to acquire the knowledge, and she probably thought, one quick bite, nothing would hurt. Boom. Both Adam and Eve were evicted. The forbidden fruit that started with time in evicting the man and women of the garden. The second apple that got dropped off to a man's head. Ooh, that hurt me. What fell apart? The only thing that fell apart for the first time gave genesis to innovation. That's the apple in Isaac Newton's lap. Led in time with a series of innovation, inventing gravity for the first time. And third of all, what we hold in our pockets, Steve Jobs, the man behind Apple, who in time continued to not only innovate, he created disruption around technology, which was a revolution for us. With one Apple, he conquered the global business empire. Do we all agree to it? Even if the Android users are in. With that said, introspecting about time and me coming from the age of millennials, and hardly there are few in the room, that includes my family, millennials from the age of 1980s to 90s, if there's one thing that you want to define a millennial in a time period, definitely we were the digital natives. We were handed over from Gen X to us, the first ones to experience a disruptive technology. As much as it's disruptive technology, as the image shows, there's one thing that we knew at our best, it's called loading. We knew what was loading all about. We took minutes waiting together just for one image to load. And you guys are cribbing about few seconds of buffering. Trust me, you guys haven't seen the real battle at what we have experienced. That's one part of it. That reminds me of a joke that I read. An innovator, a dreamer who dreamt to see the future, who manages to get a hang of a time machine, and he lands in there. He clocks the time machine in 2050 just to envisage and see what the future was all about. This big innovator, big dreamer, found himself in his night pajamas in the living room, surrounded by three kids, each one calling Dada, Papa, Daddy, and every possible cumbersome environment this man has found in the living room. And then he was dumbstruck and then asked himself, what happened? What changed? What happened to my big dreams? What happened to my innovative thoughts? And then he quickly realized that he failed to carry the charger of the time machine that missed him to stop at very important events of his life. Moral of the story, keep it simple. Carry your charger wherever you go. Even if you need to charge your dreams. That's the kind of millennial that we or I represent. If the second thing, if I'll have to refer, what a millennial was known for is connections. The connections that we have established in the past. Guys, I'm talking about real connections, not the real connections. I'm talking about face-to-face connections. I'm talking about real teacups and not the e-cups. I'm talking about being present in front of a person to make the emotional connection, a physical connection to talk, to inherit a quality of someone's emotion. With that connection, why am I relating connections here today in this chronospectus journey? 1 out of 7 in India, as per statistics, is going through a depression, aged between 18 to 28. Who reports between 34% to 57% aged between 18 to 28 in depression of loneliness. We are living, unfortunately, in an era that demands the physical connection but surrenders to be virtually connected, demands to be physically comprehended but defines to be virtually disconnected. So, keeping that in mind, being fortunate to come from an era of connections, the connections in my life changed my pathway, and to my topic, changed the way how my career path was defined, and fortunate to it. Like I titled my topic as Shifting Sands to Steady Mountains. Let me call out my real story about how my journey started as shifting sands, and I've categorized it in according to Donald Super's career development phase, where he calls out 5 stages, but with the audacity of the time, I'm picking up 3 stages to explain. The first stage is the growth stage of my career. Very interesting. Definitely passed out of a good college back in Coimbatore, a reputed college, but I did pursue just my Bachelor's of Science in Electronics. Last bencher, had sufficient arrears to keep myself guarded out, pulled myself at the last minute, and fortunate to be part of campus placements. And I did see quite a lot of campus placement notes here, so it was pretty nostalgic in nature. Just because, courtesy my mom being the best teacher of English, I had the control of vocabulary. Probably I sound one. If not, forgive me. Definitely I'm addressing a different generation of audience here. Can't speak the Gen Z language. Very strong with my millennial quotient. Definitely because of the control of vocabulary, MNC got me recruited just because I was able to communicate better. Not by scores, not by grades, not by GDP. And guess what? I did land up in a role of a back-end HR. I started my career just as a back-end of a HR. And my job is very simple. Even my 6-year-old dude probably do it today. Got to sit in front of the system, have a software, schedule virtual events with the title, with the presenter's name, and with the timing, and click submit. And I had the maximum QC checks with the number of errors that I probably did at my work. Leaving that aside, my interest and passion coming from millennial, from the digital native, was steered towards technology, but I didn't find my avenue to pursue it. I was working late hours in a late night shift off my work with enough errors performed, leaving it for my QC checks to be done, off to, guess where? Snooker table. Off to snooker table, had a ball of game, learned enough way to handle snooker as a game. Watched, and I was watched by my manager, and I would like to record his name, Mr. Jayantre Chowdhury. He watched me, and I am graduate. Definitely he carried that caliber and found me that I was definitely a person with caliber, but did not have the interest to pursue, or did not have the avenue or doors to pursue, and rather I was let in my snooker table. He called me for a walk. He said, "Brother, what's your interest?" I said, "I would like to pursue technology, and this is not my cup of tea." And there were interactions back and forth in our walks, and then we came into a conclusion that he will refer me inside, but it's my responsibility to get through. It's only reference and not recommendations. Agreed, jotted, and then we got through the first role that I got into, a support engineer, a very, very minimalistic role, but I was fortunate to kickstart at the growth stage into that perspective. 20 years back, I moved into another MNC, and I was guided and trailed by another leader by name, Mr. Srihari Rajaram, who gave me the first time prospect to work into the space of virtualization, which was still the older way of cloud computing 20 years back. I was fortunate, the man put in a trust on me, and I was trained and trailed to perform my duties, and then I sailed in there. My growth stage was guided by two aspects. One, my passion over the obligations that I had. So mark yourself, if you're in that position, drive your passion towards the obligations that you're put in. And second, I seeked into right leadership who governed over my academics. And these were the two gentlemen. With the growth stage moved on, I got into the stage of exploration. An exploration stage as per Super's theory. An exploration stage is where the buzzword cloud computing became more phenomenal, more relevant, and less was I anguished, but I put my gut into it, saying that I'm going after it. Probably just like how the world is moving towards AI, or even CBI, computer brain interface, or anything that you can talk about, integrating yourself with AI and ML. Those were the days where the buzz of cloud computing kicked in. My explore stage were guided by some leaders. I would like to record Mr. Deep Roy, who gave me a path to pursue after multi-cloud or a hybrid cloud as a technology of passion. And so was the demand from the customers, so I had enough avenues to pursue it. My exploration stage grasped well, pursued well, and Today, as I stand here in front of you as a witness in the stage of establishment, in the establishment stage, not just moving from a HR to a technologist, from a technologist moving into an evangelist, from an evangelist moving into a chief architect who's able to help customers to move into digital transformation, to move into data center automation, helping customers to build cloud technologies, which has been only a vision or a strategy so far, but wearing a hat of a consultant, have been given opportunities to be there in the stage of establishment. In this stage, the key aspect was I surrendered and submitted to some mentors in my life who not only guarded my character, who not only guarded and guided my path, but also reincarnated the way I operate inside out. Inside out to an extent where what I stand, where I speak, what I represent, whom I address are certain dictations which has come from certain mentors. And I would like to record Commander Ashok VM Kumar, who's been a key holder in this stage of establishment. Through this path, no longer into the space of just technology, myself and my wife are also extended to work with NGOs to help women and children from the space of exploitation. And so on is our future that beholds, because we've surrendered ourselves into the stage of establishment under the mentorship. Now, what do we take away from the sands to the mountains? Like I said, I took over the priorities of passion of my heart. And I'm sure 1 out of 2 here are watching or hearing to see, can I grab something out of a talk that's happening here? If that's one thing, grab your passion over the obligations. For whatever reason that you're placed in here, if you have a different driven passion, follow your passions. Nevertheless, the chronospect of your life will also be different. Move into identifying leaders who will guide through your career. Academic degrees, definitely no fault to it. We are pursuing multiple degrees is definitely a good stake. But while you pursue different degrees, which holds good, but leadership can be driven over and above academic degrees, which I am a testimony to it. And last but not the least is accountability to mentors. If you have found one, great. Be accountable. Be reportable. If you haven't found one, find one. Find a mentor that you'll place your life in their hands because they have seen life ahead of you and given the wisdom of what you might probably need. What are my takeaways out of my life of Chronospect? My takeaways is leaving the choice to you. If I'm here today, I would not just like to talk about just about my life. If there are some beans that I can spill over in this auditorium, if I can sprout some thoughts for you to go and not be succumb into it, but rather mull over it, choice is yours. What you want to be. Do you want to be a sand which is unstable, which can retract any time? Or do you choose to be a sea which is anguish, which is always angry about circumstances, which is always emotional about what has not gone right, and it always feels wavy around your life? Or do you want to be the wind, which is inconsistent its own way, comes and goes in its own way? Or do you choose to be the mountains, which is stable, which is strong, which is secure? Nothing can shake a mountain if you choose to be yourself. If the choice is yours, definitely the career path. And if I could be here on a TEDx platform, why not you? If my story can be something that I can represent, why not your story? Take these 3 takeaways. Be the salt, not just the spice. Be a salt that you can add something to your own life, something to one's life. Be it your career or be it your personal life. Do not lean on your own understanding. but cast it into the wisdom. Call for wisdom, and wisdom should address you because you're calling for the right thing. If you're seeking wisdom with somebody, hitch on, cling on to it, and you will see the paths straightened, even if it's not been straightened so far. And last but not the least, be the mountain and not just the shifting sand. The choice is yours. I'll leave the space with one final quote by Robin Sharma, who says, cut your excuses in half and triple your commitment to action. The choice is yours. Signing off. Thank you so much.